Hey guys, one of the things that I want to sort out on the Golf after the event that we did at Bathurst Light Car Club is the exhaust note. The exhaust note at the moment is extremely quiet. It sounds like a vacuum cleaner as you're going past. The crossover effect also comes that down the track when we eventually tune this car, we want it to flow a little bit better. So at the moment, I've tracked down a catback exhaust, which is actually a custom system, not an off-the-shelf solution. This has come off Facebook Marketplace for reasonably cheap. I picked that up for $500. In this video, we'll run through modifying the rear bumper. This exhaust off a MK6. So it's not something that just bolts straight up to a MK5. It was something that was, I wanted to learn how to do a little bit of sort of plastic stuff. It's not the best job, but we'll see how we go. So we'll get that on this video, and hopefully for our next event, which is coming up very, very shortly, we'll have that ready to rock and roll. So we're also going to make a tweak to the brakes on the front of the car. So we're going to put on MK6 Golf R or Scirocco calipers, which have a 345mm diameter rotor. We better get cracking onto it. So I'll show you the exhaust systems now and the difference between a stock one versus the aftermarket one that I've got here, and we'll go from there. So as you can see here, we've got a stock exhaust. This one's actually off an EOS that I parted out a while ago. This is identical to what we'll see in the GTI. We've just got to pull the one out of the GTI, but I thought, let's show you what we're sort of working with first. So as you can see, relatively small pipe diameter. You can see a humongous restrictive resonator just there, and then you go into a muffler that's quite a thin looking thing that, again, doesn't flow too well. Small exhaust pipes coming out the back of it. Whereas over here, we've got a custom-made muffler setup that's still got a resonator in it, and goes into a smaller back box, which has a 2.75 inch in and 2.75 inches out. What's interesting though is that the person that did this originally had a 3-inch inlet into the initial part of the exhaust. Not sure why you would do that over doing 3-inch all the way through, but hopefully we should get a bit more volume out of it. I'll do a before and after video of the car as well, and we'll save that to the end of the video to see what sort of sound difference we actually see. I've picked up an R32 bumper to mount a MK6 GTI exhaust on the car that I've picked up. And what we're going to have to do is, because this is an aftermarket one, the MK6 rear diffuser doesn't clip in. So we're going to have to do a little bit of cutting to make it fit. As you can see, I've got a MK6 rear diffuser just here that we can try and fit into the gap. Basically what I've just done is I've just scribed a mark around the outside for where it should fit, and left enough there that we can always trim some more off to make it all fit just nice. So I'm just trying to figure out the best way for us to actually cut this. So we'll try a few different things to see, is it going to work or is it going to be a bit painful? Helps if you get the cable in the right spot, eh? So what I've done thus far is just cut just slightly short of my line. I'm going to have to do some tidying up. There's some areas there where I'm not going to be able to get to from the front side, such as just behind those tips. So I'll keep cutting my way around, and then I'll flip it over and we'll get to the other side. Alright, so we've got that there. Now I'll flip it over and try and get the bits that we couldn't get to from the front side. Alright, well theoretically that should just about drop clean out. There'll probably still be somewhat attached with various bits and pieces, but no, look at that. Bit of tidying up to do, but alas, we've got that off, so that's a good start. Okay, there's a little bit more to do, but we're just about there. We just need to take a little bit more out on just a couple of these edges just here. Now that we know that, it's relatively easy. So the goal is to basically get the lower tabs of the MK6 to mount back to these little wings. Hopefully, that's something we can do relatively easily. So yet again, while she's rough, we'll offer it up and see how it goes. Should be getting pretty close now. So as you can see, it's pretty close. It looks like we've got a little bit more in the corners than what the factory one would. But I think we should be able to probably pull that GTI portion back in a bit. We're probably close enough now that we could probably mark it out for the clips, so that we can just cut a slot about the same size as the clips here, just to see if we can get it to seat. So again, we might just open these up a bit more so we can try and get it to sit rather happily. I'm not real worried about the paint on these because, well, it's pretty obvious that it's the wrong colour. As you can see, we've got a little bit of a gap there that wasn't really intending on having, but again, it's an aftermarket rear bar, so what do you kind of expect? Ordinarily on a genuine R32 bar, this should just clip straight in with no modifications whatsoever, but I decided to go the hard way, so I might get some fiddling done on this, and then I'll get back to you once I've actually got that mounted with some zip ties or clips or whatnot. So after much fiddling around, it looks like the best option is going to be to basically just remove that, and then we're just going to zip tie it back through here, because we've got some new zip ties that actually have a holder on the back side. So we'll give them a go. That'll also mean that I can remove it relatively easily for paint and whatnot. So, oh, better get to removing it. Alright, now I'm going to use some G-clamps, and what we'll do is we'll end up clamping the diffuser on so that we can pop some zip ties in and see how we go. G-clamp it is. These are shit. So we've got it all clamped up. I'm going to drill some holes shortly, or we'll drill holes in a moment, and basically get some of these zip tie things in. That actually looks pretty damn good. It's looking really, really good. Sits in there reasonably flush. Reasonably. It's never going to be perfect given it's not a rear bar. But hopefully that should fit with the MK6 exhaust I've got there. So it's got 4-inch tips, so we'll see if it rubs. We'll soon find out. So next port of call is probably to test fit, or to mount the new exhaust on the car and run it without the bumper, and then we'll mount it and see how it goes. So to get the stock exhaust off, my goal is to use a set of these. If you haven't used a set of these, getting a stock exhaust off, it is a godsend for getting those exhaust rubbers off. Rather than having to use multi-position pliers or screwdrivers or hammers, they work really, really well. Worth the investment. We'll be using ratchet, a couple of sockets for the correct size for getting those slip joints out, an extension to be able to get through to the actual hanger on this side of the car as well. So I've also got a couple of rattle guns as well there, just in case we need to use that too. So let's get cracking. So as I mentioned, we're going to drop the old exhaust out. We've got a hanger on this side. We've got a special tool to remove that. On this side, I remember it was a right pain in the butt to get these out, but there's a couple of bolts there that we can basically use to drop that off. The other exhaust has that on. If we go towards the front now, you can see that huge resonator sitting there. It's a little bit different from what we had on the EOS, but by the same token, we need to get back up here, and that's where our other hangers are. So first port of call will be to remove those slip joint clamps just there. And what we'll do is we'll get this rear section out and see how we go with actually popping the new one in, see how we're going to fit up, whether we need to do the downpipe or whether we can just build a... I'm hoping that I can build a slip joint to mate up to the flange, but we'll see how we go. Well, ratchet's not the ticket. We're going to have to use an electric ratchet. Right, slip joint's undone. So now we use our pry tool just here. We'll pop our hangers, and then we'll get to that side, and we'll undo that as our last point of on the car, because it should pivot the side of the exhaust system down from there. So now for release that, as you can see, it's swung down. Basically, I will get the 13mm here. We'll disconnect the last couple. There we go. And that's our stock exhaust system out. Pretty well ready to rock and roll now. So I ended up replacing the downpipe, which was a bit of a nightmare, but I got it in anyway. So something that I did notice, however, is you'll notice that there's a specific vacuum line there that's disconnected. I think we found the cause of our error from previous. If you have a look, can you see the problem? Well, it's under the car. Down the downpipe was something that I noticed. If you have a look at that bush for the control arm at the rear, that's got some cracking in it. It's kind of indicating to me that it needs to be replaced. And if you have a look at the engine mount, it's got a little bit of nastiness there too, so we'll have a look and see whether we can get one of them. And that control arm bush looks a little bit better, but it's not great. So, but our downpipe's in, it's bolted up with our flange on it. So for us to get that exhaust on and even dummy it up, we're going to have to take the rear bumper setup off, because as it sits with the tips, it'll just jam into the rear bumper and there's nowhere for the tips to actually go. So for our trialling, we're going to take the lower portion of the GTI rear bar off. Missed a couple of bolts. Never seen these ones before, but we'll soon find out how they go in. I don't think they'll be going back in based on our diffuser. There we go. Now we've just got to release the other side as well. Basically there's a clip just here that we have to release a bit of a painful spot, to be honest. Once we get it popped though, the bumper basically starts moving like that. So, as far as I'm aware, there's no more bolts anywhere across here. I'll have to have a squiz though, because that's not wanting to move. So the previous bumper just popped straight out, so I'm hoping we can just get in there and gently persuade it with a screwdriver. I think there's going to be a bit of swearing involved with this one. Now, don't pry on this if you're worried about your paintwork, honestly. I'm hoping we don't have to remove the whole rear bar. We're soon going to find out, huh? Come on, get your pop. Hey, we got one. One clip done. We're going to play this game with every single clip, clearly. Figured out the knack now. There's a little tab just underneath on the upper side of the bumper, or the lower side, sorry. On the lower side here, you'll see a little notch. If you can get your screwdriver up in there, you can just pop it and it'll pull straight off. Move now, guys. Got a bit more leverage. There we go. Hallelujah. That bumper's now off. So, and we didn't do any tears, thank God. So we can always repurpose that if we want to. All right. Now, next protocol, we need to get that new muffler fitted up just as a dummy run and see how it's going to sit. Now, by all accounts, this does fit, but we'll soon find out, hey. Okay. Now probably good to get this other side hung. Let's get these ones in the front. One, two. Three. Hopefully. There we go. How good does that look? I think we're probably right to throw a rear bumper on. I've got to take the 210mm out to remove this tail light. The goal of not losing them down the void. Oh, right. Again, let's not lose it into the void. And then there's a little clip for the tail lights, and hopefully that should be it. Should, theoretically. One! Oh, let's go round again. We're actually learning together. I haven't had a Mark 5 before, so as you can see, we've got Mark 6s, but Mark 5s are completely foreign. There we go. Next one off. Okie doke, now we should be able to remove. Oh, look at that. Exactly where we expected them to be. Well, as far as Google's told us anyway. So pull these off. Then we're going to stand and then we'll try and clip all this together so that it's all hunky-dory and we don't have to muck around, eh? There we go, that's them. So theoretically, according to the theory, hey! Look at that. And apparently, there's also a clip down here for the tail light globes. Well, not tail light globes. The rear thingamahoozits is what we'll call them. One and two. Now, we've got to clip it all together. Now, if anyone ever asks, I'm a trained professional. One beautifully prepared rear bar. Now we can put it all back together. Round we go again. As I always say, installation is the reverse of disassembly. That's pretty well what everyone says, hey? Get it all tucked in so it's ready to go to its home. Oh, beautiful. Like a glove. Like a glove. Oh, now exhaust tips even fit perfectly. And I think I actually made this specifically for it, hey? So she still sits out just a little bit around the areas here. I guess that's probably due to the fact that it's an aftermarket bar, as we keep referring back to. But, hey, it's better than kicking its teeth. And it's also a lot cheaper. I mean, it only cost us $100 as opposed to a genuine, which is more than double that. So, definitely worthwhile. Oh, I suppose we can pop these back in there, hey? Look at that. Maybe I'll just put this on that way. Yeah, good. So we're going to whip these Mark 5 GTI calipers and rotors off and swap it out for some 6R ones. We've got a nice new disc there, but the second one was just wrong. Yeah, it was a bit of a problem. So, but yeah, we'll for the time being, the rotors that came with our calipers look okay. So we'll just use them. There's no cracking on them, so they should be fine to use. We've got to bed them back in with the race pads that we've got here as well. So now for the fun bit, this spring clip. I don't even know where that went. So one of the things that we're also going to do as well is we're going to remove these heat shields, because when you're, well, they're kind of dust shields more so than heat shields, but when we're on track, we realistically don't want to be capturing our heat in there. We need it to dissipate as best as possible, especially when we're running effectively a set of stock calipers with some pads and some standard discs. So the only thing that we've just got to be aware of when we're doing that is that we've just got to keep an eye on our ABS sensor so that it doesn't melt. But that's something that you keep an eye on as part of your regular servicing. So just depending on what you're doing. If you're just doing fun track days and stuff like that and you're not actually pushing it all that hard, you can probably leave them on and it won't be a problem. But we're also just conscious that for the stuff that we're doing, I know that I'm going to be pushing the car, so I need as much temperature dissipation as possible without it going to brake ducts and things like that. But that might be something that we do down the track. So, but we've demonstrated on our race cars time and time again that it's not necessarily the be-all and end-all. If you choose the right pad combo with fluid and you've got the right calipers as well, a lot of the time they'll cope with quite a bit of stress before you run into grief. But those pads are also something that you don't want to be running on your road car. So these are fairly rusty looking, but as I said, we went over these. They're okay. Nothing to write home about, but they're pretty fresh. When cars sit outside, they tend to get a bit of a layer of this on them. So kind of par for the course, really.
So I want this that rotor to be retained, which we're nice and happy with there. So we're going to end up with a nice red caliper clip on this side because unfortunately one of my other cars lost one a while back and it made like Houdini, so I had to buy another one, but I pinched it from this particular car that had these calipers just sitting around on it just to get me operational. So these are used race pads that we had. I wouldn't recommend buying used pads, but because I know the parentage of these and what they've done, I'm more than happy to whack them in. As they've been in our possession since day dot. We purchased them new, so these pads only did one test day when we first built our Golf R race car. Look at it, pretty red. Got to thank Carbon Auto House for that one. Sean down there's a legend, so if you're in the Sydney area, hit him up. He's a good egg. Finally! Thank fuck for that. Well, that was epic. As you can see by looking at the colour of this fluid that came out of the 3-door, it's seen better days. So as part of the process we went through and basically did a complete fluid flush throughout all 4 calipers. We've got the R brakes on there now, so that's ready to rock and roll. So we've got the car ready to go for the first round of the Sprint Series by Prospeed Racing. So we've got the R32 rear bar on with the MK6 Exhaust. Sounds like we've got a little bit of an exhaust leak. We need a 3-inch flange gasket, so I'll be trying to get that this week before the event. But it sounds a little bit better. Probably could do with being a bit more meaty. But other than that, it's pretty well ready to rock and roll. As you can see, we've got the 6R front brakes on the car with our good pads in it. So we'll see how they go at the event.